Prohibition, one of the most ambitious and controversial social experiments in American history. From 1920 to 1933, the United States attempted to ban alcohol, but instead, it fueled a massive underground industry. Nowhere was this more evident than the state of Michigan, right here where I'm standing, which became a hub for smuggling, speakeasies, and organized crimes. I know this because my great-grandfather was a bootlegger. How many people were involved? How much money did they actually make? What happened if they got caught? These are all things that I'd like to know. So welcome to History by Kip, where we don't just look back at history, but we ask ourselves, what can we learn from it today? In today's video, let's dive deep into the fascinating story of bootlegging in the United States, with a special focus on the great state of Michigan. Let's go. The Prohibition era. The 18th Amendment passed in 1919, enacted in 1920, made the sale, production, and transportation of alcoholic beverages illegal across the United States. What was meant to curb social issues instead led to the rise of bootlegging, the illegal manufacturing and distribution of liquor. Organized crime syndicates took over, and illicit alcohol flooded the streets. Demand skyrocketed, and people were willing to take huge risks for massive profits. So why did Michigan become such an integral part of bootlegging, such a hot spot? While bootlegging was widespread across the whole country, the United States, Michigan played a unique role. Why? Well, the geography. Michigan shares a border with Canada, a country where alcohol remained legal. The Detroit River, Lake Erie, and Lake St. Clair, which is 45 minutes from here, became prime smuggling routes, allowing bootleggers to bring in massive amounts of liquor from Canada. By some estimates, 75% of all illegal alcohol in the United States came from Michigan during Prohibition. Detroit was known as the rum capital of the nation. With speakeasies on nearly every block, smugglers, known as rum runners, used everything from speedboats to underground tunnels to bring in alcohol. Some even built makeshift submarines to evade authorities. How many people were involved? How much money was made? The scale of bootlegging industry was staggering. It's estimated that thousands of Michiganders, from ordinary citizens to organized crime syndicates, took part in the illegal liquor trade. Police officers were often bribed, politicians were paid off, and entire communities relied on this underground economy. As for the money, the numbers are shocking. Some bootleggers made up to $200,000 per month, equivalent to millions of dollars today. You ever heard of Al Capone? The infamous Chicago gangster? He had ties to Michigan, estimated to have made over $100 million per year from bootlegging operations. With demand so high, even small-time rum runners could make a fortune, even if they didn't get caught. So what were the penalties for getting caught, and what happened if they got caught? The penalties for bootlegging varied like anything else, but at first the government struggled to enforce it, prohibition, due to lack of resources. However, by the mid-1920s, new laws like the Volstead Act imposed harsh punishment. First-time offenders faced $500 and 6 months in jail. $500 was a lot of money back then. Large-scale bootleggers, they were sentenced to 5 years in prison, federal prison. All their alcohol was confiscated, often destroyed, unless they were taking it for themselves, but often destroyed. Bootleggers, thousands lost revenue. Some smugglers were even shot or killed in a clash with federal agents and rival gangs. Despite the risks, many considered it worth it. They had to provide for their family one way or the other. Even if caught, bribery, again, very rampant, and many bootleggers walked free after paying underneath the table to the officials. But as law enforcement cracked down, more and more gangsters and suppliers found themselves behind bars, or even worse. So they finally got it a little bit under control. The end of Prohibition. By the early 1930s, it was clear that Prohibition had failed. The public had turned against it. The power to the people. Crime was rampant, and the government was losing millions in potential tax revenue. In 1933, the 21st Amendment was passed, officially repealing Prohibition. Almost overnight, alcohol sales resumed And the bootlegging industry completely collapsed, but its legacy remains, and we look back and it lives on. Many of the organized crime groups, what did they do? They gained power during the Prohibition, but they continue to operate in some other illegal enterprise. That's what they do. In conclusion, guys, I hope you appreciated this dive deep in Prohibition. Michigan's role in bootlegging left a lasting impact on its history. From daring rum runners to underground speakeasies, the state was at the heart of Prohibition's era smuggling. Michigan. Even today, the stories of these risk takers and criminals continue to fascinate us. So what do you think? Do any of your family members ever talk about, should Prohibition ever been enacted to begin with? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, a little deep dive in Prohibition and this great state of Michigan, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go.